Good afternoon. I am Ward 3, the chair of the Housing Opportunity Commission of Montgomery County. I want to welcome you to our September 14, 2022 meeting. I'd like to introduce to you other members of the commission who are present. Fran Gallagher, vice chair. Rick Nelson, chair pro tem. To my far left, Commissioner Byrd. Mr. Hurd, Commissioner Cooney. To my far right, Commissioner Merkowitz, and next to him, Commissioner Simon. I also want to acknowledge the presence of Chelsea Andrews, our executive director, and KB Brown, our deputy, and also the staff of HOC. So we will get started with the formation of the agenda, which has been sent to everybody. Does anyone have any action to take to either modify or affirm the agenda? So nothing changed. We'll move to the order of the agenda. The first thing is the information exchange portion, which starts with the community forum. We have been advised that no one has requested in advance to participate in the community forum. So we will move the agenda forward with a report of the executive director.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, members of the public, and to HOC staff. I'll start by providing an overview of activities that have taken place in the month of August 2022. In the month of August, HOC continued to engage in its core activities, providing support and enrichment programming to our clients, fulfilling our HUD required obligations, and enhancing our client experience. This month, we highlight services provided by our Office of Resident Services and provide updates from our Housing Resource Division, Information Technology Division, and Real Estate Division. While our offices have not fully opened to the public at this time, we continue to provide high-level customer service through virtual meetings and program offerings, on-site engagement at our properties, as well as meeting with clients in person by appointment. Before I move on with the resident services update, I do want to provide a quick update as it pertains to changes and issues that are being raised across the industry. As many of you all know, NARO, one of the largest affordable housing trade industry associations, recently submitted a letter to HUD requesting that they have a 120-day reset to not initiate any new policies while housing authorities have been working diligently to get up to speed with outstanding tasks at the end of COVID. We are, myself, as well as many other board members, are going to the NARO conference at the end of this month. I look forward to providing an update to the commission next month in regards to how that process is underway, as well as sharing some highlights and feedback from peers across the nation that have also been impacted by these changes. Additionally, I want to follow up from the last board meeting in regards to requests that staff look at our internal auditor RFP and indicate that we are in the process of looking at a scope for an internal auditor, as well as continuing the assessment related to staff compliance team, and we'll make a recommendation to the board moving forward. Going back to the agenda and the report that was provided to you, I'll start with providing resident services update and ask to go to the next slide.
For a moment, the screen that is normally on up here is not here. It's not on like that, please.
We will look into that. Thank you, Commissioner. The resident services update will start with the service coordination update. Our service coordination unit provides assessments, counseling, information, referrals, and program services to our HOC customers. During the month of August, staff continue to provide services virtually and in person. Resident counselors continue to engage with our customers to determine their needs. Customers were referred to our partners and receive food and other assistance. Resident counselors continue to perform wellness checks with customers to ensure their safety and assess their needs. Also, customers who were experiencing challenges with paying rent were referred to and connected with resources such as the COVID rental assistance program, the emergency rental assistance program, and the housing stabilization program. I'd like to start with sharing some updates in regards to some of the activities that our resident counselors were engaged in, and ask for the next slide. Great. And so we'll start with updates related to Cider Mill. The slide that's showing for the commission and the public shares a quick highlight of the activities that took place at Cider Mill. As you all know, Cider Mill consists of 864 units, with 40% of those units being restricted to households with incomes at or below 50% of the area median income. The activities that took place at Cider Mill included our staff working with the Department of Health and Human Services Outreach Network to discuss the facilitation of safe zones at Cider Mill and our other properties. There was also a backpack drive where over 100 backpacks were provided to the students at Cider Mill with their Resident Council Association event. Additionally, our staff continues to assist the property management staff at Cider Mill in addressing rent delinquencies by continuing outreach, assessments, and providing referrals. Next slide. We also engaged in activities at Stewartown Homes. And you'll, of course, be reminded that Stewartown Homes is 94 townhome style communities with 100% of the units restricted under the LIHTC program to serve families with income at or below 60% of the area median income. At Stewartown Homes, we were happy to provide support and outreach to 55 families, connecting them to a school supply event that was held at Gaithersburg Church of Nazareth. Next slide. Barclay. Barclay Apartments, which is located in Bethesda, consists of 157 garden-style apartments, with 52% of those households being with incomes between 30 to 60% of the area median income, and 81 of the units at that property market rate. Pleased to share that at the Barclay Apartments, we provided a warm meet and greet, coffee and conversation opportunity for our residents to be welcomed and to provide them with information about the property and the services that we provide. Next slide. We continue to provide resources such as workshops, and those workshops are highlighted here, including fundamentals of housing workshops and resource sharing workshops. Next slide. And resident well-being continues to be a key focus for us. We have great partnerships with the St. John's Church of Bethesda, who facilitates educational and nutritional programs at the Waverly House. We have a senior brown bag food distribution. We continue to do health assessments for upcoming and we have an upcoming diabetes clinic that will be held at the Forest Oak Towers. And we have a virtual community bingo activity that occurred at the Forest Oak Towers on August 11th. I'll pause and ask if the technology is working. Perfect. Thank you. Next slide. We also continue to provide support to our residents who are impacted and need support with relocation related to our RAD and or renovation projects. As this slide reflects, and as my report reflects, there are many projects underway in which we're renovating and relocating residents, and we provide them with that support as well as rental assistance support. Next slide. In addition to all of the information I previously provided, our resident services programming team has a very robust calendar of events and continues to do work with our partners over the course of August in providing resources. Next slide. Some of the highlights of those programs include the backpack and school drives that we did across our properties to ensure that our students were ready to go back to school. Also community need surveys as we begin to re-engage in person so that our programming can be in par with what the needs are of those in our community, as well as really trying to get the word out as it pertains to the resources that we provide. Next slide. Pleased to highlight the Tanglewood community event and book reading program that was spearheaded by our very own Commissioner Simon and culminated here in August. Awards were provided to the top readers in that program. One young lady in which read an impressive 22 books over the course of this summer received an award and was spotlighted. You can see that reflected in these photos. And thank you again, Commissioner Simon, for your hard work and dedication to ensuring that our students had access to this program. Next slide. The Magruder's Discovery Community event also was a backpack drive and a school supply event. Next slide. Seneca Ridge Community event. Here are beautiful photos, of course, of engaging with our community there and providing support to them as the school year was starting. And next slide. Paddington Square. And so as you'll see across the board, we really wanted to ensure that we got out to as many properties as possible to provide hands-on support to our students and our youth to give them the support they needed to start the school off in the right direction. Next slide. Our HOC Academy continues to thrive, and August was a really great month. It was the last month of programming for our youth that participated in summer programs. Next slide. Last month, you might recall, receiving some updates related to the K&M Sensational Summer Educational Program. August was just like the month before. It was a hit for our kids. They really enjoyed it. This month, they really enjoyed the process of thinking through how to develop and build a roller coaster. The student who was the top student in that judging rubric received a trip to Six Flags. So it really was a wonderful summer program that we look forward to continuing for our kids. Next slide. And also our adults continue to benefit from HOC Academy. We had over 5 businesses registered, and you'll see us highlighting many of the other businesses that are well under their way with getting legalized and having their businesses incorporated through the support of our program. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Financial literacy is something that we provide, of course, not only to our residents, but we offer to those on the waiting list and encourage members of the public to spread the word about this benefit that we provide to those who are interested in financial literacy opportunities. We have a financial literacy coach who provides one-on-one financial literacy, as well as provides workshops to larger groups. In August, we had 12 customers and 9 individuals from our waiting list, and we are hoping to increase those numbers as time goes on. Next slide. Our supportive housing division, as you all know, provides support to over 239 participants who formerly were homeless and or have disabilities. That case management continued through the course of August. And also support was provided to those who needed referrals to the rent supplement program. Next slide. Fatherhood Initiative. This was a wonderful month for us as we wind down the grant year. We are pleased to report, next slide, that we had 364 fathers participate in this program, far exceeding our goal, which was approximately 350. As you see, we wanted to highlight, and even though they're Zoom photos, the participation of those fathers and acknowledge them, the 22 that graduated from the program in the month of August. We will be beginning a new grant renewal cycle that will start in October, and it's another 3-year cycle. So we will continue this great work. And I will continue to provide updates and highlights. Next slide. Upcoming events also can be located on our website, www.hocmc.org. There's a newsletter that you can sign up to follow, but highlights here are our activities happening at both Washington Square, a community event with STEM activities on September the 22nd, as well as an upcoming event at Stewartown Homes on September the 28th. Again, more STEM activities and really an opportunity for our resident services to begin to in person engage with our communities. There'll be a series of pop-ups over the next few months. Next slide. Our Housing Resource Division has been busy as always in the month of August. I'm pleased to report that we maintain our high level of utilization at 95%. The report provides details in regards to our programs in terms of how we have been working with any resident that was recommended for termination to try to ensure that we're able to resolve those issues if possible. And my report provides more details related to that. Next slide. Our Family Self-Sufficiency Program is a program that, of course, we're going to be talking about today. There are a lot of changes that have been proposed, both regulatory requirements as well as discretionary changes that we're making to enhance our program. And in the month of August, we did have 2 families graduate. We were unable to enroll while we were undergoing the public comment period. So we look forward to providing our action plan to HUD and begin re-engaging with enrollment in this program. Next slide. And our IT division has also been working diligently in trying to enhance the experience for our customers. We have started to roll out what is called Rent Cafe through a program called Yardi, allowing our voucher participants to log on and do their interim recertifications and annual recertifications online. And our success rate, and we just launched on July 11th, is pretty high. We're pleased to report we're at a 68.5% utilization. And so we'll continue to reach out to our clients, tell them about this new resource and provide support. We believe that in addition to the ease of use that it will provide for our residents, it will also assist us with accuracy and with data collection and shorten the time frame for us to review information provided by clients related to their interim changes. And we also are continuing to focus on our information technology as it pertains to security. And we have initiated the first round of the Arctic Wolf Managed Detection and Response System. And so acronym MDR is the acronym for the technology that we are applying to our systems to ensure that we have a safe environment for our IT environment. Next slide. And today I'll highlight one of the many projects we have ongoing, and this is the Bower Park Apartments renovation. Bower Parks is located in Rockville, and we started renovations there in September of 2020 at the height of COVID. And after 2 years of work and a significant amount of investment by this commission, I'm pleased to announce that we have substantially renovated 142 units, and we have provided a beautiful new community room and leasing center. We're nearly complete and want to share with you some photos from before and now. And next slide. You will see that these photos depict the community room and common area before the renovation. And as HGTV would have it, I'll say next slide. Let me show after. And this is the beautiful work that our team has been able to do in this place to transform this living environment for the community, much brighter and obviously modern and a much more welcoming environment. Very pleased to share. And you see also depicted in these photos a change in terms of the unit inside and kitchen as well. Next slide. And we are at the end of my report, and I would ask if there are any questions that I could respond to and open.
Yeah, I have one. How you doing? Yes, I have one. Look, I want to have two. The first question is on the programs that you indicated. What programs did you have for the scattered sites? As far as giving things to them, as far as school, going to different programs. This is what that's one of them. And the second one was the last thing that you said, which was about the technology. And who is implementing that for the elderly, the technology?
Yes, thank you. Both great questions. Our scattered sites are, we have a system in which our resident services counselors are divided amongst various properties across our scattered site portfolio. They are responsible for communicating to those scattered site participants all of the opportunities to receive resources and to join even local communities where we might be doing on-site distributions. And so our resident counselors provide them with those resources so that they can participate and show up to the events that we host. And then as it pertains to the technology, that technology is something that as we roll out, we also ensure that our property management offices, our resident counselors are also aware of those changes and can provide support to our seniors. We also have a call center that allows for one-on-one support as needed. Obviously, on an as-needed basis, make ourselves available to go to the senior properties to demonstrate how to utilize the technology that we provide. And so it's an ongoing process. We have typically the ability to provide support by way of our resident counselors and or our IT team. And of course, as we learn of any particular challenge, try our best to provide that one-on-one support to the seniors. Yeah.
What has been the response of the residents in Bower Park to the renovations and the 2 years that they've had to move around?
I think that it's fair to acknowledge that throughout the course of the renovation, there's been challenges for the residents. It's really difficult to endure a renovation project, especially one in which in the midst of the pandemic was impacted by starts and stops. However, I am of the understanding that our residents are very happy with where we've landed. The last report I received was related to a small change or request for information related to thermostats. So we've gotten to the very minutia. How do I make my environment comfortable? Less complaints about the overall environment. And so very happy to get to this stage of the renovation project. Thank you for asking.
On that point, just since residents are having the opportunity to experience new upgrades in their kitchens and other things, and new appliances and thermostats, did we do any kind of orientation training sessions for the residents on these new upgrades?
I believe that we have had to do that one-on-one. And this is a lesson learned, of course, as we put in new technology and resources, thinking through how we can best disseminate information. And then quite frankly, and even as I learn new things, making sure that we have tools available, easy go-to reminders, even after someone's been kind of primed on how to utilize a resource that they can go to refresh on how to utilize the equipment.
Because I can remember we put in new stoves with electronic ignition starters, and people used to have to turning on the stove when the fire came up. So we were replacing a lot of knobs on those new stoves. So training is really important.
Yes, training and also, leaving a note that allows them to reference in the future if they forget what they're supposed to do is something that we definitely have to ensure happens.
Did we use or install induction ovens in those units? And I assume that there was training and certainly new pans and pots, I believe, are required with the induction equipment. How did that go?
Those were
installed at residences on the lane. And yes, new pumps and fans were provided to each unit and training provided. So to the best of my knowledge, they're going just fine so far.
Any other questions?
No question, but just a comment on the executive director put it in her report, so we didn't mention it, but I just wanted to comment on the utilization of the emergency housing vouchers. And, again, thank the staff for all their hard work on that. I know, we are well above 50% utilization of those. Even though, we still have some residents who, or voucher recipients who have struggled to find a place. But I was reading last month, I think, I don't know what the current numbers are, but that around the country, housing authorities that have received those vouchers aren't even at 50% of utilization. And I know we've been well above 50% for a while now. And so just want to acknowledge the work of the staff in getting us up to that level. Keep it up, and let's.
Finding the units now is really difficult too.
Thank you for acknowledging that. And yes, in fact, on HUD's website, you can go in and look at how different cities across the nation are faring with the EHV program. And we are far above our peers. So I also want to echo that sentiment and thank you for acknowledging the team.
One of the programs that you refer to is the FSS program, which is really a very good and great program. And you had two persons who graduated from the program. I would really like to talk with you and staff about how we can celebrate those graduates at our commission meetings. I know many of them, for example, have earned and saved escrow, and some of them get a pretty nice little check. And we've had some of them who've gone from that to home ownership and other kind of self-sufficiency things. So we'd be happy, I think, to entertain, showcasing them like we do our scholars at one of our commission meetings.
Thank you, will do. And I will say that this actually is something we spoke about recently as a team, because I think at one point there used to be a larger scale celebration. It's been impacted, of course, because of the pandemic, but we've been talking about how to potentially bring that back. And so definitely on the same page with you, Commissioner, and we really do want to celebrate their success.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
The question will go to the next portion of the agenda, which is the commissioner exchange. Are there any letters or information? Just I want to acknowledge a couple of things. One is the fact that the director mentioned that some of us will be going to the NARO conference next week. And so we're looking forward to that. And so we'll come back with a lot of rich information for our October, I guess that'll be October board meeting, commission meeting. So again, thank those who are able to go, and we look forward to this being a really good conference. It'll be the first conference for NARO, I guess, in 3 years. And so this will probably be a very large attendance at this meeting. So thank you very much for that. And the last thing I would mention is that just to reinforce acknowledging the work that Jackie Simon did in Tanglewood, which is summer program, the reading program. It's always great when we as commissioners are able to go out in the community and participate in those kinds of activities and to really share those. So I want to thank you, Jackie, for that. I appreciate it.
I thank Frank Oliver for her, thank you, her books and contribution to books. And I'm sure that if we continue to attract books, we can spread this to other communities. And I hope we can pursue and expand that program. And there were books for adults, cookbooks, and books in other languages. And I think the children who participated really enjoyed it. So
I have 2 more boxes in my basement.
well, let's get them to Tanglewood.
Very good. Any other items? If not, I will move to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes of our August 10th, 2022 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Bird, I second.
Been probably moved to seconded. Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
One abstention.
This is, I wasn't here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The motion passed. We'll now go to committee reports. The first report is our administrative and regulatory committee reports, and Fran Kelleher will chair that committee, will lead that discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Priest. The Administrative and Regulatory Committee has been discussing with staff updates to the FSS program as mentioned, the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. HUD came out early in the year in May with major updates to this program, which both expanded who can participate, as well as many of the options available to folks. And as part of that, they required that every housing authority update its FSS action plan and resubmit to them in a format which they specified in great detail their new FSS action plans. So staff has been quite busy incorporating not only the changes operationally, but also creating a new plan for us to submit to HUD. As our executive director mentioned, HUD has put on hold any use of the plan until these new plans are approved by them. Part of the process was a public hearing period with a 45-day public comment period. We held that, and the public hearing was this past Monday, and we're now ready to bring staff's work before the committee with the endorsement of both the administrative and regulatory committee with my colleagues here to the left who serve on that committee, as well as the resident associate boards. So we have two recommendations coming with staff's proposal today to what's being brought forward on FSS. I will quit there because there's so much information about it that I'm going to turn it over to our executive director, Chelsea Andrews, to introduce, and then she will have staff go into more detail for you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Madam Chair, I will share that the FSS action plan is quite comprehensive. As you can see in our packet, and for the members of the public, is also located on our website. The changes that have been adopted or that are being recommended to be adopted to the board reflect both required regulatory changes as well as discretionary changes that we want to propose to the plan that will help enhance the experience and, quite frankly, expand who can participate in our FSS program. There are lots of details related to this plan. As we roll it out moving forward, there will be opportunity for the community to hear more holistically about what this plan, the new plan, entails and how to engage. And I'd like to pass it over to our Director of Housing Resource Division, Lynn Hayes, and her Assistant Director, Giddy Paul, to share more details related to it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Lynn Hayes, the Director of the Housing Resources Division. The Family Self-Sufficiency Program is a federally mandated HUD program offered to all families assisted through the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The Family Self-Sufficiency Program, or FSS, enables families to increase their earned income and reduce dependency on welfare assistance and rental subsidies. Under the FSS program, families are provided opportunities for education, job training, counseling, and other forms of social service assistance while living in assisted housing. Families can obtain skills necessary to achieve self-sufficiency in a 5 to 8 year period, and program participation is voluntary. HUD published the Streamlining and Implementation of Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act changes to the FSS program on May 17, 2022, effective June 16, 2022. The final rule mandates numerous changes to the FSS program that must be implemented no later than November 14, 2022. Noteworthy changes to the program include client-centered decisions made in collaboration with the FSS counselor. Together, the client and counselors will determine what is in the best interest of the families. Additionally, the regulation established 2 statutory goals in the FSS contract of participation. The family must be free of welfare assistance at the time of graduation and employed at the time of graduation. The prior regulations required that the family had to be free of welfare assistance and employed for 12 months preceding the graduation. HOC must modify the FSS action plan to comply with the statutory and regulatory program requirements. The required contents of the FSS action plan have not changed. However, the regulations now include a list of policies that must be made at the local level and included in the plan. As a result, staff are requesting approval to submit the proposed revisions to HOC's FSS action plan to HUD by September 30th, 2022. HUD requires a 45-day review period to assess the soundness of the plan and approve implementation by November 14th. The suggested policies and procedures remove arbitrary decisions and provide transparency in the administration of the FSS program while fostering relationships with external partners and customers. And so we will take any questions that you have.
Commissioner Keller mentioned that there was a public forum or public hearing. Did we receive any comments?
No.
I can't imagine the amount of work that goes into preparing that document.
Any other questions?
I would move that the commission adopt resolution 22-65, authorization to submit the family self-sufficiency action plan to Housing and Urban Development.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 22-66 for the 65, I'm sorry, related to the authorization for the family self-sufficiency plan, action plan. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered.
Thank you.
Next item is a report from the Budget Finance and Audit Committee, which is chaired by Commissioner Nelson.
The next item is the county FY 24 capital budget and amendments to the FY 23-28 capital improvement budget. The county process is that every 2 years they approve a capital improvement budget, and on the off year they entertain any modifications to that. We are submitting a proposal to the county to affirm those things that we requested before, and we have some additions that we are including in this particular request, which will be explained in much more detail by the staff if they make their presentation. So I'll start off by turning it over to the executive director to begin the presentation.
Thank you. HOC continues to appreciate the support that we have received from the county executive and the county council. The significant investment that they've provided to us over the course of years has been extremely beneficial in preserving affordable housing and creating affordable housing. And so the capital improvement program request that you are hearing today is related to submittal that we would provide to the county, for its FY 24 capital budget and amendments. With your approval, that would be submitted prior to the deadline of September 15th. You will hear that the recommendations that will come from the staff involve continuing to provide the ongoing support that they've provided to us, as well as some infrastructure support requests related to the Elizabeth Square work that we are doing. And with that, I will turn it over to our acting CFO, Tim Getzinger, as well as Terry Fowler, our budget officer.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner Nelson. The County Capital Improvement Program, the CIP budget, is prepared biannually. That's every 2 years, not once twice a year. This year, only amendments to the CIP will be considered by the county executive and county council. HOC was required to submit the request to any amendments to the county by September 8th, but we did receive an extension to tomorrow, September 15th, in order to seek commission approval today. And with that, I'd like to bring up Terry Fowler, our budget officer, who will provide the details of the submission. Terry, you are up.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Chelsea. The FY24 capital budget and amendments to the FY23-26 capital improvements budget that we are requesting from the county ask them to continue our current allocation of $1.25 million for the supplemental funds for deeply subsidized HOC owned and affiliated units, to add $520,000 in new funding for the WSSC infrastructure project for the sewer and storm line improvements required at Elizabeth Square, and to add $3 million in new funding for the demolition of the original Elizabeth House building. This is a total allocation of $88,607,000. Our current CIP includes 5 projects: the MPDU Property Acquisition Fund, the Opportunity Housing Development Fund, the County Guaranteed Bond Project, the supplemental funds for our deeply subsidized HOC and affiliated owned unit improvements, and the WSSC infrastructure project for the sewer and storm line improvements at Elizabeth Square. We are asking for an increase of $520,000, taking the current budget for the WSSC sewer and storm line improvements from $705,000 to $1,225,000. There have been several modifications to this plan, and we learned recently that also the Purple Line project and the Maryland Transportation Authority have experienced several challenges, which include changes from WSSC scope and sequencing revisions due to unforeseen below grade conditions, escalation of costs, perhaps as high as 30%. And we've also seen delays associated with installing and maintaining the track settlement monitors and flagger availability. The new project we are requesting is funding of $3 million to demolish the existing Elizabeth House building, which is directly adjacent to HOC's Alexander House, HOC's The Leggett, and the Montgomery County South County Regional Recreation and Aquatic Center. The county has explicitly requested that the existing Elizabeth House be demolished in advance of the opening of the county's facility in the first half of 2023. And the $3 million assumes the cost to prepare the building and site for demolition, obtain necessary permits and county approvals, disconnecting various public utilities, removing and abating hazardous materials, and providing for a contingency fund for project unknowns. Therefore, we are asking the commission to approve a $88,607,000 CIP submission for the county FY24 capital budget and amendments to the fiscal 23-28 capital improvements program plan to continue our current funding of $1.25 million for improvements on our deeply subsidized units, add the necessary $520,000 in additional funding for the WSSC infrastructure project, and add $3 million in new funding for the Elizabeth House demolition. As the executive director mentioned, once commission approval is received, we will forward the required documents to the county OMB office, county executive, and county council president. And I'd be happy to address any questions you might have.
I would just preface my motion by saying that in projects like this, there are always some contingencies that come up. Witness the discussion that we just heard about the problem with the WSSC infrastructure fund. And in terms of the demolition of the existing Elizabeth House Square, or the demolition now, that will only enhance the vista and the access to the new South County Regional Aquatic Center. And the Leggett. But I think those are going to be two really major project improvements to downtown Silver Spring. And I think this will only enhance that. So with that, I would move that the commission approve resolution 22-66.
I second.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 22-66 relating to the capital improvement budget and amendment to fiscal year 23-28 capital improvement budget. Are any questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. So ordered.
Thank you.
The next item to come before you is in fact from the Development and Finance Committee, is chaired by Commissioner Jackie Simon.
Good afternoon. This is a development that is particularly exciting, and they all are in their own way, and they all present their own challenges. And I must say, I have been greatly impressed by the speed with which the staff has been able to redirect and refocus on the alternatives and challenges facing us, both because of the economy and the supply lines and so forth. So I would ask our executive director to introduce the staff and the issues and the decision that we're to make this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think you may have taken the words out of my mouth. I was going to say that we really must acknowledge our team and our staff's ability to pivot and yet still produce in the midst of the climate that we're in. Today, you'll hear a presentation that entails providing an overview of how the economy and the variables in the economy have impacted this project, yet how we are still positioned to provide over 468 units in this East County development and create affordable housing for our families. And so there's been remarkable commitment and dedication to providing you this update today and continuing to stay as closely on track as we can. And with that, we will be seeking your support today for $4.13 million in pre-development funds. I will turn it over to both Catherine Hollister, our senior financial analyst, as well as Marcus Irvin, our director of development, who will also be supported by our deputy executive director, Kay Rain Brown, as needed. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, commissioners. Marcus Irvin for the record, director of development. And as executive director Andrews and also Commissioner Simon mentioned, we're here to present a two-pronged approach that addresses a lot of what Catherine Hollister will detail in terms of the geopolitical climate, inflation, and all the things that have not only affected HOC's projects, but other projects throughout. And through this presentation, we want to make it known that it's a lesson learned as we go through other projects. Oftentimes we plan as much as we can, and as things do happen, the team is very agile, creative, and always seeks to bring forth the goals that we originally set forth, including making sure that we hit our affordability mix, the design is not sacrificed, and the project as a whole is delivered as intended. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Catherine Hollister to get into some of the details of this approach. Catherine.
Thanks, Marcus. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, my name is Catherine Hollister. I'm a senior financial analyst in the real estate division. Staff is presenting an updated preliminary development plan for Hillendale Gateway and is requesting commission approval for an additional 4.13 million in pre-development funding from the OHRF. On slide 4 of this item, it's an update on the project's status and current development path. Staff has been navigating the challenges around historic inflation and material supply chain issues that have been impacting the construction industry as a whole. In the case of Hillendale Gateway, these issues resulted in a 27% increase in the hard construction budget since last summer, when HOC issued its general contractor procurement for the project. While inflation has affected all divisions, steel has been disproportionately impacted due to recent and continuing geopolitical issues around processing and shipment, which is described in more detail on slide 5. As a result, Prescient, the structural steel frame system, which the development team has intended to use at Hillendale Gateway, has lost its historical cost advantage to concrete and has driven staff to evaluate a change to a concrete structural system. Slide 6 depicts the historical cost advantage of Prescient compared to concrete since 2017. The development team has conducted numerous pricing exercises throughout the pre-development period, and up until this year, Prescient maintained a cost advantage to concrete. That advantage switched for the first time in June 2022. Slide 7 outlines the advantages of switching the structural system at Hillendale Gateway from Prescient to concrete. Notably, concrete is currently cheaper, is domestically available, has experienced less volatility, has a more competitive subcontracting bidding environment to capture additional savings. Additionally, the switch to concrete allows for the development team to incorporate other value engineering design changes to bring down the project's overall cost. The development team is working closely with CBG and subcontractors to identify additional cost-saving measures that do not negatively impact the performance or marketability of the development. Finally, because the project has 10 months of site work to be completed prior to going vertical, there is sufficient time to redesign and amend the permits without delaying the vertical construction start. Staff expects to return to the commission later in 2022 with a proposal to launch site work ahead of the full construction mobilization. Slide 8 summarizes staff's request for additional pre-development funding in the amount of 4.13 million, which includes approximately 2.1 million in soft costs related to the change in structural frame, 1.7 million in ongoing pre-development efforts and pre-closing financing costs, and 309,000 in ground lease payments. While there are additional soft costs related to switching to concrete, GC estimates indicated a hard cost savings of 3.5 million, resulting in approximately 1.5 million in immediate net savings. Slide 9 illustrates the additional financing sources staff is pursuing to offset both rising hard construction costs and interest rates. Those additional sources include HIP, LIHTC equity, mezzanine funding, state and federal energy funding, and deferred developer fee. Notably, this chart does not include additional resources that are now available thanks to the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, which Hillendale Gateway is well positioned to benefit from. Per the regular process, staff will return to the commission for approval of a financing plan prior to full construction start. Slides 10 and 11 summarize the previous commission approvals for pre-development funding for Hillendale Gateway. To date, the commission has approved approximately 10 million, of which approximately 7.9 million has been spent and 1.7 million has been obligated. Approximately 500,000 has been obligated. The additional pre-development funding requested here would not be drawn until all previously approved funding is spent. All pre-development loans will earn interest at the applicable federal rate and will be reimbursed at closing of construction financing. I do want to note that moving forward with pre-development funding requests, staff will request pre-development funding all at once up front, similar to Wheaton Gateway versus the installment approach used here. Slide 12 presents the issues for the commission's consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I have a question related to I don't think we've discussed about this and it had any information related. Does this plan, as far as gas versus electricity, anticipate the county's move to non-combustible energy supply? And does this budget request, will this cover that if it does anticipate it?
So Hillendale Gateway is a leader in that it was designed to be an all-electric building. So we're ahead of the code, ahead of the curve on that front.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Just on that front, I wanted to note, we discussed in the committee that, these changes won't have any impact on the environmental benefits that we've previously discussed, nor will they have any impact on the income mix of our ability to hit those income mix targets that we've previously set.
And the county executive did have a press conference this week related with the developer related to the building and its electricity and so forth. And it was, they were considering and describing the policy changes, but they used this as an example. And I just, in our committee, I don't think we had asked whether that anticipated or was a cause and effect related to the policy change of the county government. So I'm delighted that we were ahead of the curve, and I'm glad that it appears that this change that we have had to make actually does not increase the net costs. In fact, you anticipate savings of some magnitude. So I think that's good too. The committee discussed this thoroughly and unanimously recommended that we move approval of resolution 2267.
It has been properly moved and seconded to approve resolution 22-67 related to the Hillendale Gateway for the revised pre-development budget and additional pre-development funding for Hillendale. Any questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. So ordered. And thank you for that. It's not related to this project, but I guess the circumstances around Hillendale are ones that are affecting a whole lot of projects. And we've got a pretty big pipeline of projects. And so at some point in time, for us to be able to look across the aggregate about what that may mean for us going forward, especially looking at the sources of dollars that we use to fund these, I'll call them deficits or new costs or whatever it may be, we'd be happy to sort of entertain that conversation.
It's not just the cost of materials, it's also the cost of capital.
Yeah.
And labor.
Yeah, because the Fed's talking about another 0.75 increase in interest rates. So it's just going to affect, it already affected the housing market significantly. So with that, thank you very much for this. There's no other business to come before the commission at this time. I'd like to get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Probably moving a second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.